should we start? Okay. So we'll start with the praise to Shakyamuni Buddha, and we'll do that in Tibetan. Okay. So see how the first verse is done 3 times, and then we'll go down, and then we'll move on to the Heart Sutra, and we'll do that in English, and the dispelling of the hindrances in English, and then we'll do the mandala offering. We'll do that in Tibetan, and then Rinpoche will lead us in refuge. Okay.
So you can start.
Okay. Lama tumpa chumdende deshin shapa cha trumpa yanda pa
So Zangiri
rikpada shasu dempa dewa shekpa jik
Kemba Kiwo to Kalo Yowa Lana Mepal Hada Minam Ki Tumba Sangi Chumden Den Pekya Wa Shakya Tuba La Chase Chedo Kyauso Che O Tishin Shewa Trajomba Yantaba Zobe Sangi Riba Shauso Demba Dewa Shewa Chiden Kemba Kiwo to Kalo Yowa Lana Meba Lada Minam Ge Demba Sange Chumde Pegya Wa Shagya
rikpada shasu dempa dewa shekpa jikden kempa kebu duwe kala gyawa lana mepa ladang minam ke tumpa sangye chumden Gyawa shakya tupala chaksel chudu gyapsu chiwo gangse gangne sowo gyutam de sachen dila gompa dubone ngani jikten dine choche sung detse keba kula chaksel namda kuna chotu dunzawa yashe gyatsu sege lumboja Drapa jite suna la mewa, gompo chuni kula chak selo, sento tempa drime da weshe, selo drawa kula chak selo, duje kida sipa chumashi, nyame kenchen kula chak selo, gompo tuje jedempa, tamche kempe tumpa po, sona yunten gyatso shin, Deshin shela chak selo dabe de ja jewa gyo yewe nyeso le gyo shin shindo de nam shugyo wa shingyo shela chak selo jone jowe lam yang ton lapa dala ratu ne shinge damba yuden yendo layan chak selo Dikpa chiang mi ja shinge wa pinsun sopache Rangi semne yang sudu, dine sangye tempayin. Kamara prema medang, yama sepa chukudang. Milan londan tintabo, duje chanam ditata. Sonam diye tamche sepaye, gopan kamne kage jayute. Kadan adan chive la drone, sebe sole drowa drowa. To the Heart of the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra in English. I prostrate to the three noble, rare, sublime ones. Thus did I hear at one time the Bhagavan was dwelling on massive Vulture's Mountain in Rajgriha, together with a great community of monks and a great community of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Bhagavan was absorbed in the concentration on the categories of phenomena called profound perception. Also, at that time, the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Arya, Avalokiteshvara looked upon the very practice of the profound perfection of wisdom and beheld those 5 aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Then, through the power of Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Arya, Avalokiteshvara. How should any son of the lineage train who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom? He said that, and the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Arya, Avalokiteshvara said this to the Venerable Shariputra. Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom should look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly beholding those 5 aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Form is empty, emptiness is formed, Emptiness is not other than form. Form is also not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, likewise, all phenomena are emptiness, without characteristic, unproduced, unceased, stainless, not without stain, not deficient, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomena. There is no I element, and so on, up to and including no mind element, and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, and so on, up to and including no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and dwell in the perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscuration and without fear. Having completely passed beyond error, they reach the endpoint of nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times also manifestly, completely awaken to unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment in reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the unequal, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering, should be known as truth, since it is not false. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is declared, Kayata gate gate para samgate bodhi soha. Shariputra, the bodhisattva, mahasattva, should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like that. Then the Bhagavan arose from the concentration and commended the bodhisattva, mahasattva, Arya Avalokiteshvara, saying, well said, son of the lineage. It is like that, it is like that. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom just as you have indicated. Even the Tatsakas rejoice. The Bhagavan, having thus spoken, the Venerable Shariputra, the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Arya Avalokiteshvara, and those surrounding in their entirety, along with the world of gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, were overjoyed and highly praised that spoken by the Bhagavan. So we continue with the expelling of the hindrances, right? I and all surrounding sentient beings take refuge in the Buddha, take refuge in the Dharma, take refuge in the Sangha. We prostrate to the great Mother Prajnaparamita, surrounded by her children, the assemblies of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions. In dependence on my prostrations to all of you, may these words of truth be actualized. In the past, the Deva king, Indra, dispelled the evil Maras by reflecting on the profound meaning of the wisdom gone beyond and reciting the profound words in daily recitation. In that same way, I also reflect on the profound meaning of the great Mother Prajnaparamita and recite the profound words in daily recitation. In dependence on that, may all diseases, spirit possessions, bad conditions, and opposing forces which happen due to bad karma and immediate conditions be dispelled. May they become non-existent. May they be pacified. From the holy supreme realm of Ketchara, you who possesses power of clairvoyance and magical emanation, looked after practitioners like a mother looks after her children. To the host of dakinis of the three abodes, I prostrate. Akasamaratsa Shadarasamara. By the teachings, the noble, free, rare, sublime ones, possessing the power of truth, may hindrances be averted, may they be eliminated, may they be pacified, may all enemies and negative forces opposed to Dharma, Santum Purit, Soha. May all the host of 80,000 obstacles be pacified, may we be free from harm, may all excellence be in accord with the Dharma, and may there be auspiciousness and perfect happiness right now. So now we'll start, now we'll go to the mandala. And I'll just start and then you'll come in after I start. Om Gyawa Gyaptak Dorje Chang Chimpo Dang Ngo Yama Chifa Yonzok Tempe Ngadak Tungi Ledut Jetsun Lama Lo Sang Tu Wa Dorje Chang Jempo Kyabje Kundeling Tatsak Chokcho Rinpoche Behel Sangpo Shelnane Dekpa Chempo Zungchu Zamo Lekpa Yue Yondu Shinkambuwa. Person. Om Benda Bumi Ang Manju Sege Sa Shi Om Benza Reke Ang Chi Chakri Go Yuki Go We Usu Ri Gyabo Ra Shalu Papo Lo Dambuling Lo Balancha Jam Jaminyan Ludang Nepad Ngayab Dang Nayab Shen Yodan Dan Lam Chok Cho Jamin Yanda Jamin Yangeda Rinpoche Rihiwo Pahag Tam Gishing Dujoyo Bam Mamu Pai Loto Polo Rinpoche Nobo Rinpoche Sumo Rinpoche Lompo Rinpoche Lampo Rinpoche, Tacho Rinpoche, Mapo Rinpoche, Mboya Bumpa, Geuma, Chewama, Luhuma, Kanma, Metokma, Dumpoma, Namsema, Chichama, Nima, Dawa, Rinpoche, Do, Chople Nampa, Gyawe, Gyaltse, Uso Ladang Mi, Pelcho, Punsum, Sokpa, Matsang, Wang Me, Sing, Dida, Chen Chen, Sawa, Dang Gyupa, Chipe, Pelden, Lama, Dampa, Namda, Kepa, Duyang, Yonsuk, Tempe, Nadat, Dungile, Dut, Sene, Mute, Jetsun, Lama, Losang, Tubwa, Dorje, Chang, Jempo Kyabje Kundeling Tatsok Chukchul Rinpoche Behel Sangpo Shelnane Dekpa Jempo Zungchu Zamo Lekpa Jue Yondu Shinkambu Agil Tukshe Drowe Dondu Shesu So Shene Kyang Dakso Drowa Magyo Namke Taram Yam Semshen Tamshe La Tukse Wa Chempo Koni Jinge La Tuso Dashi Perki Jo She Me Jo Tron Yes, me say, oh, wow, draw, da, sing la, ba, so, so, la. Dam pa ke nam ke chaku kala yen se chudin chen jita sampe do jedima las lam ge
Sangye Chedan Soge Chonam Lan Chanjum Padon Dani Gyabso Che Dagi Cheje Gebe Tsonam Ge Jolam Penche Sangye Jobar Jo Sangye Chedan Soge Chonam Lan Chanjum Padon Dani Gyabso Che Dagi Cheje Gebe Tsonam Ge Jolam Penche Sangye Jobar Jo Sangye Cheda Tsoge Chonam La Chanjo Padom Dane Gyabso Che Dage Cheche Gebe Sonam Ge Jolam Penche Sangye Jobar Sho Kange Toze Nyesonde Dawa Tamje Pangbeje Tambe Chenen Densebe Guadam Delan Chance Dans la même dans même j'ai on bon dans que j'ai lo so che cho lo cha wa che ba na sang ge sung ba ro du shi shen de we gyu gyu ba de da shi ge tan be chun ye shin ne de she she na mo la ye ge dan lo dan nu jing ge zhu bon tan da min ge nam dan zhuo wa gun ge zhan nan chi zang ba tam je ge don da ge che den do an terin de sang ge me le an chu zo dang de chi gyu kyang be ni kem ne kin du ma re zu man nam ba re 대신도 대 최소하게 두개 신예다 제일 넘버 최저 넘버 대 패배 period 넘버 타 근데 왜 넘버 상물로리아 테스트에 쉬어이
Like to, can you hear me at back? I would like to extend my hearty greetings. Can you hear? I would like to extend my, thank you. I would like to extend my hearty greetings to everyone, especially for the Sangha members, monks and nuns, and the board members here of the Land of Medicine Buddha, and all the staff members, and Tibetan members, community members here, and the Vietnamese community here.
최저 넘버 상물 대표님
And all
상물로
the Lao friends who have gathered here today, I send my heartfelt greetings.
테스트에
Tashi Pillai.
야야 안 대린데 이게 그래서 베이리아 쇼베 춘제 당인데 체 아니 안테스 고소 아니 건다 쇼인스
Apologize that I had a morning discourse at the Tibetan Community Center, so got a little delayed. Apologize for that.
야야 야 대인데 다 대린데 마 춘제 쉬어야돼 로종 세계 마스네 로종기 슝 망고 예배 나네 슝 자친 부 쉬우지 개친 부 쉬우지 로종 세계 마스네 칭용용체 된다 개친 부 예된겨 니토네 마 제셰 디디 쉬에 도체 니제려야 실현닝부 롱시부야인다
So the main discourse of the teaching here is the mind training practices in the Buddhist tradition. There are so many mind training practices, but here today's teaching is on 8 verses of mind training, which is a very concise and doable kind of practices, which is very short, but it has profound meaning. And after that, I would like to give a Heart Sutra transmission.
기단계 낭배 슝 배자 컨데르 심바 있네요 로종기 슝 찍다 냠네 컨데르 심바 있네 로장에게 냠네식 차대요래
In essence, all the Buddhist teaching is about the mind training. Whatever discourse it could be, it will be subsumed under any kind of mind training exercises.
초직내 상계 좀 되는 게 초직내 상계 좀 되는 게 랑게 셈네 용수들 되는 상계 템바 인스체네 상계기 템바스네 최스네 디조디 셈 뒤야 인스체네 송요레 디인데 최 상계기 최 상물로 셈 뒤야 로종직다 대양 최기 흉로 상물로 로종기 흉직 차대요레스
So Buddha has given a very profound statement that all the Buddha's essential teachings boils down to mind training. And the mind training is training our own mind and taming our own mind. So any kind of discourses is always linked to mind training practices.
다 이나야 상계 흉로기 나로라야 베제 나로라야 양 로종기 흉스체네 믹세지기 요바레스
And also, specifically, there is a distinctiveness here that the mind training is also a demarcation that has a specific kind of training within in the mind training as such.
데인데 가레스나 달 로종 지단기 흉 정말로 로종 지단기 흉 정말로 로종 레딜레 예나야 마 로장당 송베급려야 아니야 그시 야첨부 토네로와 지베 송야지 요래 따이나 니나네 베자 믹세기 양 로종 스밍 토딩 게 베자 그시 오네 타네 베 로년바데 정답데 세도 되네 베디양 간조 칼로라 수르도 되네 송데 시 베제 코르시오르스
Within the mind training, there are so many mind training discourses. They are something that can be a very extensive mind training practices, but also within the mind training, there are specific mind training which are very specific to a certain negative state of mind which can be trained. So there are so many discourses that brings under the category of the mind training exercises.
디네 인도 따탄데 마 쇼야게 딘데베 로종 흉딜이야 어 로종 시게마스 체네 따 시게마스 체네 밍따야디 흉텔라야 식 멍용기 차네 식제 로와 땅가서 쇼로가 시기로와 쇼로가 딘데 게유베 차네 로종 시게마스 체 도식체 따 저자디 조 로장당 디 수르드 되네 송고 여자 로종체 텔라야 쇼로가 게유베 차네 시게스 체 도스밍다버레
So today's teaching is on the 8 verses of mind training. And when we try to understand this specific textual 8 verses of mind training, there is an understanding that can why it is 8 verses, because they are 8 verses within this mind training. So that is the first thing one has to understand, that there are 8 specific verses that talks about the mind training. And the second, it falls under the mind training category. So that's why it is very specifically stated as a mind training.
오야 다 딘레웨 로존 세계메 숑디 좀보보데 다 전주 샘게 나다 로바 베 냠렘바 세토볼 페딩요 랑디 탕보 도지 생게 세네 치로 젝동 야메 업중아다나로 페베 다 케바 상베 미케바 기름이댕기 기부 탕바시레 콩기 자좀 세버레스
So this specific text has been composed by a really renowned practitioner. He was a bodhisattva with a high realization, and his name is Larithamba Doji Senke, and he gave this teaching many centuries back.
딘데 펠레야 베 냠렘바 라마 기부 탕보 망고 예베 나네 베 용수 차와 베 냠렘바 첨부 쇼지 문지 쇼요레
And there are so many great renowned masters of the past, classical masters in the Tibetan tradition. And Lamipa Doji Senke falls under this category of highly realized master.
콩 그뒤이네야 즉 소소 레 현사데 현데 그뒤이네야 개셔왔다 그뒤이네야 소소사딘 베 예월도레 토네 현지버진베 냠네 조나네 답베 시라게 냠네 토볼로 페베 기부탐바 차대요레
His main training is cherishing others, and his focus is for the well being of others. He is something who has let go of his self cherishing mind and focused totally for the benefit of other beings. So this is one of the main specific practice for him, and who he is highly realized master himself.
딘데 인데 콩게 자좀 제베 로종 세계마데 아주 베베 나로라야 주규 리스마 체베 상매 개침부 체네 슝테 토네 로종게 냠네 나야 로종게 토라야 롭종 나야 능게 요레 베잠도 마세베 비규 난데 진주바 히말라야도 속보도 제보 망고시기 슝데 자침부 쇼체네 치 로네 되야타 슝게 된다 될라야 다 냠네 나야 싫었는 거 요레
This specific 8 verses of mind training is very important practice in all the Tibetan Buddhist tradition of all the different sects. This is a text that is common prevalent in practicing as a very core practice in the mind training exercises. And this is something, a training that has been extensively studied, and not only the Tibetan Buddhist sects, but even the followers in the Himalayan regions and the Mongolians followers, they truly practice this, and they in fact memorize these verses, and they engage into this practical application.
근데 힌데 단다 로종 세계에 나올려야 로장단데 다체 토부 쉬우지 토네 승구요레스
8 verses of mind training is a training that is a very high training practice.
대체 다 니나로려야 로장사에게 로디 조디 나란소 그뒤네야 랑 캐심부 쉬우지 사무다 쇼로 랑 진신 딘제베 로디마 숙충으로다 딘제기 토네 로디 구양부 써야기 니 조직 차요레스
So something that is very unique about this 8 training of the mind is something that while you do this mental training, you are reducing the self-cherishing mind. As you reduce this self-cherishing mind, your mind become open-minded and flexible.
디니 인데 디 로종 세계에 쇼로가 개요바 인데 쇼로가 듄다 체계 그와 관계 쇼로가 듄다 체가게 급라야 란 제버진베 로디 축충으로 따야다 장야게 탑람데라 아니 셴라야 제보체야다 셴라 삼로 땅고레사기 디톤에 정답직송
Yes. So when we go to these 8 verses of mind training, the first 7 verses, and that's actually 7.5 from the 8, the first 2 lines. So we say it as 7.5 lines. So these are specifically focusing in reducing the self-cherishing mind and focusing in cherishing others, and also the well-being of other beings are a crucial important in this mind training practice.
되제 디네 쇼로가 개박이 증한 타만이요로 굽굽이 증한 타만이 되게 동반이 삼로 땅에 토네 그와 동이기 삼로 땅에 토네 란제버스베 로라 소바타 디즈마 정답 승고요레스
And then, as indicated earlier by His Eminence, the 7.5 focuses on cherishing, reducing that cherishing mind. Within that, the last verse of the 8th verse, the first 2 line falls under the reducing the self-cherishing. The third and the fourth line falls under the view of the emptiness aspect or the wisdom aspect, and the wisdom aspect falls under the third and the fourth lines.
디인데 가서 최저란 게 계제 쉐바이나 쇼로가 당부 뒤인다 체가 되게 군조배 천주기 셈 정답 세간 타만이부 되게 된담배 천주기 셈 정답 선디 승고요레스
So within the scripture, Buddhist scripture, we can categorize that as the 7.5 falls under the conventional bodhicitta, and the third and the fourth line falls under the ultimate bodhicitta.
원로스 디시 디네 인도 삼발야타 개셔셔데 가르레스 쉐베나 상계배 최 등기 슈바는 신게 최세데 랑게 셈디 듀구레 승고요르바 상계 최최서야 돼요 셈디에 캐심부레 다가는 신게 배 나란서 최전에 쉐바이나 로장야 랑제버진베 로장야 돼요 낭쉐게 나 캐심부직다 학바도 낭쉐데라야 상계 준비된 뭐 최송윤데 삼발라야 뉴제게 로이 뉴제게 칼라브레 내다 림바드 뜸베 토네 아니 최기 데라야 서블 먹고 송요레 디 나네 다체 토슈 티버 쳔베 최기 거 차샤바이나 캐치셔데 랑 캐침부슈 삼노다야기 로디 장고야디 캐침부슈 스고요레스 란체 버침벨로디
And as indicated earlier, that the essence of the Buddha's teaching is taming one's own mind and training the mind. So this is something very essential in the Buddhist practices. So with this 8 training of the mind practices, it really focuses on the training of the mind practices. And when we train in this, and specifically for the Mahayana, the great scope individual practitioner, the focus is that reducing the self-cherishing mind and increasing the cherishing of the others to benefit others is a very crucial importance in the mind training.
근데 인도 딱 당보데 상계에게 chö saya de sem du ko ya de kare sheba ina sange chum den denge ngaran solo chö sungya de goba de nganzo le ya digi ya woji chungna kombe tone digi drubek chido sungpa cha de yore.
So also I miss one point from the earlier, as also the teachings has been given to the different mental inclination and the disposition of the different disciples of the Buddha's teaching. And then what is important is, as indicated earlier, the taming of and training of one's mind is very important in the Buddha's teaching. And why taming one's mind is important, it is because we seek happiness.
세상 ngaran so zambling na lo le ya jidang misaya de ngunne ge jig zhuo xian qilo li yue xingna na yue qiu dang bu xin da ruang dianzu da mangzhe we ngaran so le ya namche samlo dang ge nuba mixe shibu ji yore.
In this entire world, there are a lot of beings, and something that is very unique to the human being is our intelligent mind. This intelligent mind is something that is absent in the animal world, like birds or other animals. They don't have that level of intelligence.
nganzo le ya dinde we namche mixe shibu ji nuba chen bu yo ba le dian ne jig zambling na lo le ya da shibu ji ge yar ge da zambling na lo le be mi gi namche ge thone da zug dun da de shibu ji ge mang chi so tu yo des.
Because of this human intelligence, look at our world, we can see so much of advancement in every nook and corner, and a lot of finance of the developments can take place, and it's all because of the human intelligence.
dinde migi dinde we zumuling na lo le ya zugdun shiwu jik che ya de so de ta ngaran so le ya digi ji chungna samne kibu ji chungna samne di che do be zugdun shiwu ji che yo re.
All these advances, what are the goals of these advancement in this modern world? It's every advancement is wishing that there is some kind of happiness to the being. So that's the goal.
다 이해나 양 ngaran so ge namje de peje che ne digi yongya ge che do tabshi che ya de de so de 칭오보 강강 강 chin de yo re.
But all these advancement is looking for a happiness, but that happiness, the method that's employed in the advancement is only for the external advancement, external development.
딘데 인데 삼발라 니 톤에 다 external 로 칭오보다 할 레벨 이렇게 침벌해.
Yes, external development has phenomenally has taken place.
이 나가는 생게 칭오벌로 되는 거란 소라 팬도다. 가솔라 딘수 고게 열에 텔라 되는 거란 소리 디기지 연다 연구 열었어.
Yes, all these external developments has to a certain way has facilitated us and brought a certain level of happiness.
이해나양. 그래서 미기 남주 시부지 여바 되게 디기 두베게 초 찍을 마도베. 칭오벌로 마도베. 오네기 디기 두베야 찍데 소소 삼로에 나로네 디기 두베야 연구 여바다. 디토라야 먼저 도난셔야다. 디토라야 배전셔야 돼. 당요 그래서 당기민도 왔어.
Yes, all these external developments has facilitated in bringing a certain level of happiness, but that's one aspect. That one aspect development has happened, but the aspect of our inner world, of the inner realization of different trainings, that's something that is absent, and that's what we lack.
제가 근데 인도 삼발라 상계 좀 대된게 가르친 거로서는 가란술로 디기 요한 되라 요한의 신이 요래 칭오벌로 때네 디기 요한의 요래 예나야 칭오벌로 때네 디기 요한의 디 디기 템포책다 대sam기 디기 차상호 연구 말했어.
Buddha's given us specific discourses that bringing happiness, yes, there are two different happiness levels that are causal factor. One is the external development, and the external development is the one aspect which can bring about a certain level of happiness, but that level of happiness has no stability. It's quite very unstable.
니테네 칭오벌로 때네 아주 디기지 탑시지 셰바이네 칭오벌디 딱바된 바케요 말했어. 그와 그 단다 유네스 배터리 유네 생이 매봐야 차시 그래 디가라 니바 데 칭오벌로 되네 소소를 디기지 칭오벌로 되네 디네 강가 제대로 이나야 소소 삼로 당초디라야 돈아직다 춘진시 마셔봐이나 남양 디기 땜부시 용토 말했어.
And why it is unstable is because the external development has no kind of a guarantee or a permanency, because something that we have today, we may lose it tomorrow. So the stability and instability is something that is very much prevalent in the external development. So if we don't train our mind in a certain fashion, then the perpetual kind of suffering and the discomfort will happen.
즉 소소 삼로 당당데 배 삼로 당당데 시대직다 시워직 토를 만해버체 안에 삼로데 춘진 매버체네 삼로를 춘진 매버토네 삼로데 공로다 대영암다 셰단다 착도다 닌데기 왕도 짱짱데 얘네 초직네 친구부 야고지 여버이네 디기 홍원에기 디기 톡톡 말이야.
If we don't train our mind, then the mind to have a certain level of peace, and if we are not able to control our own mind, then the mind get so much perturbed with these disturbed emotions like anger, attachment, and jealousy. And when these quagmires our emotions, then there is so much of restlessness and anxiety. And with that kind of mental state, even though you have external development, they won't be lasting happiness.
배나 소소 삼로데 직 대영암 게 왕도 대대버이나 소소라야 무 거제 여버이나요. 즉 소소라야 강바된 시부지 야고 여버이나요. 소소라야 내가 체 청부지 여버이나요. 니기 소소라야 오네기 니기 준토고 말이야. 대영암 공도 대대나.
If an individual has a very strong attachment and constantly chasing about this attachment, even that individual may have a very flourish housing facilities and have a very good position and a career and have a good financial strength. Even you have all these, but your mind chasing after those attachment, you won't have a complete kind of equanimous of the happiness. There is restlessness.
응? 그러봐. 즉 소소로 예배 균호다 가레이네 니기 소소로 니기디 제토고 말해. 로 니기디 냥토고 말해. 삼련나로 이네야. ngalada 개민도 로와 아니 신다래야. ngal베 밀렌 지기요벤 다 신다다 밀렌 먹도 사야다. 야 밀렌 먹고 차베지 신다래 빌렌도 사야다. 간제 소소로 예배디기 당매 소화직 리기 말해. 그도 이네야 샘로디 심버직레 도모 동암공 송되나.
So with this kind of chasing after one's attachment, there is no peace of mind. There is no contentment, basically. So even though you have wealth, that wealth is not helping you to bring about happiness. You may have 1 million, but in your mind you are thinking about other people who have more millions than you, and as you achieve that million, then you are also looking for the billion. So there is constantly, the mind is restless and there is no equipoise of contentment. So there is restlessness all the time.
제가 딱 동암 짱짱한 건도 삼로 쉬우시 때문에 빌리언 먹었다 100 빌리언 촌에 기회서 말했어.
So this kind of greediness and attachment, that kind of thing, that even you have hundreds of millions, you are not
billions.
billions, sorry, hundred of billions, then you don't have the contentment.
뭐마 장부 대봐사야지 요를 장부 쇼를 코로나야 배자라 자침부시 라버래 따자라 자침부란 디룸데 뭐시 망주 킹게 이기래 근데 자라 자침부란이 따디기 코로나기 다니 미껴보지를 제인스네 라버래 들어봐 nobody 근데 다 미소게 솔러를 스테요 사민도 삼발라 장부 대박이 농가 디나게 개볼이야 제샤버레스
So there is a classical story. Maybe you all must have heard it, and he is known as a beggar who has so much of faith. And one time he came across that he.
노보 잘라 자침부시
So
이버스
he found a very precious thing So then he said that I would like to give it to a person who really needs it. And then ultimately he made the decision that he will give it to the king.
대체 딘데 딱 미사 항상을 미교고 칸데어리 축슈딜 가르친 제바슬라브리스.
Everybody was astounded and astonished why he gave it to the king. There are so many poor people, but why to a wealthy king?
딘데 코란 칼라브리스. 교부터 망고 요레스. 이나야. 원에 전에 교슈 기부터 차디요레스. 가르서는 삼륜 나로를 그뒤이네야. 그 마땅베 초와시어 봐. 막 돈도 망고 진 마땅베 초와 숙체슈디 기부레스. 딘데 되는 교슈 기부 차요레스.
So for this answer, even though there are so many beggars, but I feel the one who really needs, who is a poor, having poverty sense, is the king, because in the king's mind he has no contentment. The greed is always in his mind, that he's constantly looking for that greed. So he is not content. That's why, because he has no contentment, he is poor.
그래. 대인데 삼발라 땅 가란솔라야. 지게 균노롱저레 된소이 고야 구구요레 텐도 녀 구구요레 예나야. 그 시워치기 동암 체타나 아주 야 삼로디 원에 소설로 이어버디기 롱체 토구민도 소설로 이어버디기 소설로 침토버지 인구민도.
So yes, having wealth and possession are important, but there is a kind of a level where you can suffuse yourself. You should not be greedy and chasing after that, because if you have that greediness in your mind, then you will always have this. You won't enjoy the wealth you have. You are not content.
다가는 생기 아주 삼려 나올로야. 베노 콩드로 사셔봐. 봐. 아니 칸소 콩드로 사모니에 유베스.
Let's talk about anger. I'm asking to the audience, is there anyone who have never showed anger? Who don't have anger?
야야 야야 대인데 딱 망제 콩드로 선유 요려 봐. 얘네야 딱 콩드로 써도 기부 도민도스.
So anger is something we all have experienced. And while we are in the angry state, are we really happy?
No? 제 소소 기부 요말 소소 콩드사 나는 김산나로 콩드사나 능미 뭐 기부 쓰고도.
Anger is something that you get disturbed and you will cause disturbance among your family members.
즉 사zam버루를 강해서야 부구다 배 파메버루 강해서야 내가 제베가로 레로버루를 인해 콩르게 강해 먹을 수고도.
Anger is something that really cause discontents and the disturbance within the relationship between husband and wife, among the family members, and even within the co-workers when we are in the working environment.
세상 딘데 인도 삼발이야. 당기슈바는 생기 콩로 사야다. 병암 사야다. 딘즈체기 롱년바시도 다 텔로속에 롱년바 착도 사야다. 롱년바 딘즈리기 가르스나 ngaranso 먹이버스고요레스.
So in a nutshell, these negative emotions like anger, greed, jealousy, and so forth, these are negative emotions. When it arises in our mental stream, it disturbs us.
딘데 인도 상계 좀 되는 게 가르송으로서는 ngaranso기 디기 디 차샤비나 칭오브 디기 지고 말해. 칭오브 차겐야고 좀바이네 삼로디 콩르왕도 송 등암게 왕도 송 차도 왕도 송이나 원에 차네 이 디기 용토 말했어.
So Buddha has specifically given this discourse that even though external development is essential, but having external development itself is not important, but more important is that we have to have a mental equipoise and peacefulness. And because if you don't have that, then we won't have happiness.
딘데 인도 최선의 상계기 ngaransol로 디기 드백 치도 송버리 디기 드단테야 조 삼로 난기 삼로 먹이버서 겐게 바 롱년바든서 숙충로다 안에 랑게 삼로디 상부여초로다네 셈 뒤네 디레지기 토네 뭐 최셔야 돼야 디차디요레 대양 아주 디길 저 차디요.
So ultimately, Buddha's teaching comes down for us to have a happiness. In order to have this lasting happiness, then Buddha has given the teaching that we should reduce this disturbant state of mind or negative emotions within our mind stream, and we should cultivate the positive mental state. So to increase that, then as we do that, then we will come to a more lasting happiness.
대체 딘데 인데 먼저 샘 뒤에디 백해심 차대요. 그래서 네 디길이야.
So that's why it is very, very important then taming our and training our own mind is ultimately very important for us to have a lasting happiness.
딘데 레 말했어.
Isn't that so? Asking to the audience.
레레. 딱 이나야. 알아서 샘 뒤에디 개심부래. 이나야. 개 첨부 이나야. 샘 뒤에지 깔래 가고도.
Although taming and training our mind is something very, very important, but it is something very challenging. Isn't that so?
레레. 그래서 딘데 인데 삼련 나로려야. 즉 샘 뒤고 삼내이나야. 삼련 나로 즉 공도 사요야. 작도 사요야. 즉 영암이요야. 뇌샘이요야. 먹고 연구도.
Even though one want to train and tame one's mind, but the emotions like anger, jealousy, greed, all these negative state of mind arises within our mind.
딘데지 용도 알아서 먹기 붙여.
And when these negative state of mind or thought process comes into our mind, we get disturbed.
초징네 계세 시월하게 준주 나로려야 대어 되경 띠무베스 맞아 상물로 대어 되고요. 그래서
The Shantideva in the Guide to Bodhisattva's Way of Life says that we all seek happiness.
이나양 대어 되고요래들래 대어 주베급라야 맞아 삼로 차상 땅마톱 딘데지기 왕게 랑게 대어 자다 좀스 대어 주베급라 되나야 대어디 타르는 땅야라고 돌드나 소소서 먹기 붙고요.
Even though we seek happiness, but while we engage into seeking that happiness, we do things that are that out of our ignorance. Then it becomes that instead of gaining happiness, we become enemy of ourselves in not acquiring the happiness. So we make a more longer distance from the happiness.
와 소소 기부 영향이 채도 소소리 개변 영향이 채도 스스 디기 영향이 채도 공급사가 요래 차도사가 요래로와 즉 생로 nersim기가 요래.
Even though we seek happiness, but when the anger and all this negative emotion happens, even though we think that we want happiness, but when these state of mind arises on our mind, we get disturbed.
들어 초진에 먼저 공로시단 차도서도 돈도 소소서 캡상을 지르고 예버직다 대기 통에 소소 숨겨치기 예배 겁리 초월리고 요래.
And as these negative state of mind rules our mind, then what we feel that we become more powerful, we these kind of negative emotion and feel strength in these negative state of mind while these negative states comes in our thought process.
그러나 디네지 체인데 소소 먹기 붙여 소주고 소소소소기 먹기 붙고 요래. 소소소 먹기 붙어 봤음도 마세베 강연 먹고시는 티주고 욕도 먹고 시안을 죽고 쉬어야 샹다 마샹바 그러봐 한마디 용데.
And having these negative state, then what happens is it causes so much disturbance within our mind that on a really deeper level, it really causes so much of difficulties and suffering within us.
딘데인데 소소 먹기 봐 소겐기 공로시단 차도라 소바텐서 슉충으로 땅고.
So the point here is that these disturbed state of mind is something that we need to decrease, anger, jealousy, and so forth.
대신도 삼로디 고양으로 땅고.
So we need to stay our mind, be more open-minded and flexible.
근데 인도 삼발라 공로시단 차도 된소 슉충으로 땅발라야 냐로 공로시단 차도 근데스 연구도.
It is very important to understand that these negative state of mind, how do they come in our mind? And to do that understanding is important.
근데스 연구요래.
How does it come, these negative state of mind?
그러와 먼저 삼년 나로려야 nga kyang shivu samlo kesh be busu thokbo ran jinjin sigirwa shivu ju shuk chenbo yoba ina dine khongro sa chokcho shedan lang chokcho thakdo lang chokcho yungudo.
How this comes about is one who really feels self-importance. I am the important, you have this grasping to this solid I. And then with this identifying this solid I comes all the self-cherishing mind. So the more a person has a self-cherishing mind, the more mental disturbance of this negative state of mind will arise.
소소 kyangyamodo samlo tamoto shengi nedala pe samlo tamoto ni ro dinjegi samlo ji boru dedede ani lo dinzo kechojo changyodo.
So, and then this kind of individual with so strong self-cherishing is thinking only oneself and not thinking about others. That makes the mind become very narrow, and that you become very, it becomes very complex, and you get suffocated basically with this narrow kind of mind.
dinjere mares
Isn't that so?
제상 딘데 인도 삼발라야 따탄도 로중 세계면 나올래야 운에게 냠nen데 그래서나 땅아주 닥션 냠제기 돈에 전적이 셈사 딘데기 계약이 뒤숭구 요레스 운에게 냠nen데 디레스.
So that's why these 8 verses of mind training is specifically a mind training that is a training in exchanging oneself to other. So it is a mental training practice.
전적이 셈 기도.
And that is the exchanging oneself and other is the bodhicitta practice.
딘데 따 이나야 간제 답대오래 제가는 슈바이나 로중 세계면 나올래야 개시슈도 그래서나 따 라 삼로 땅야디 라 깡깡 삼로 땅데야디 시라마시 땅기오 마레스 시안라 삼로 땅고레스 제다디 디 쇼로가 듄데 책에 나로 따디 쉬우주 승고요 그랬습니다.
So basically,
다 로진 세계만 디시라 승고요 그랬어.
so basically, the most important thing in the 8 verses of mind training, it really talks about that we need to reduce this self-cherishing mind. Instead, we need to focus in cherishing others, and that's something repeatedly stated in this 8 verses of mind training.
하바도 따 전주기 셈 냠내지 쳐버리나야 개시슈디 시엔 개첨부 삼로 땅네 시엔 제보체 시엔 개첨부 삼로 땅 안에 시엔기 동해 제약이 체도 상계고 고반 토베하게 로 장네 딘디시 고고요래 딘데 인도 간다 전주기 셈 냠내치예지 있네자 다가는 좀 운내게 소소 셈 투버 체겐게 공도 세당 차도 무슨 로년보다 숙충으로 땅고 요네다 디 창물로야 안에 시엔 제버지야 디 개첨부 차대.
So this practice of the bodhicitta is a very crucial practice in these mind training practices, because you are focusing in cherishing others, and you see the importance of others. You also cherish others. You also want to remove the suffering of others so that you become reach to the ultimate enlightenment state in order to benefit others. So it is the precious bodhicitta mind that is a significant mind which is cherishing others. And also, it also talks about reducing this negative state of mind and then focusing in cherishing others.
딘데 인도 아주 단다 레 통보와 로중 세계만 송받는 신기 차상직 냠내 체토야 가지가직 냠내 체토야 깔에 가보래 이나야 가지가직 냠내 체모토 이나야 로중 세계만 나는 송받는 신기 냠내 가지 주직 녀를 체토로 전에 되게 운에 샘버 고향로야 핑기래.
What I can urge all of you is that we all are taking a step in these 8 verses of mind training. Of course, when we engage into these eight verses of mind training practice, even though we cannot do it 100%, but at least we can do 10%. Even if we are able to do 10%, that is a significant step.
야야 디체 다디는 막 뒤지 망고미도 쇼인다로
So we
고도인다.
don't have much time, so I'll start with the 8 verses of mind training.
다 당보디 다니 심제 탐제라 이신 노블레라고 텐조르베 삼바인 따도 제벌 심벌 쇼세 쇼로가 디직체 디마시교.
So the first verses of mind training is with a wish to achieve the highest aim, which surpasses even a wish fulfilling gem, I shall train myself in all times to cherish sentient being as supreme. That's the first verse.
뭐야 다 되게 쇼로가 당보디게 간다 간주 삼륜 나로리아 심제 시엔사디 개침보 임바 삼로당에 숨고요.
So this really talks about cherishing other and the importance of other sentient beings.
대인데 다시 쇼로가 당부들 지난 지시 겹당 카 그셰시 민자고 그셰시오레 라마스스게 다이네 답대버를 슈베이나 다니 심제 탐제라 이신 노블레 하고 했어 소스 삼륜 나로라야 즉 심제 시엔다 시엔 심제 탐제라야 개침보 삼로당 그랬어 개침보 삼로당당데 근데레 셔베는 배낭 알아서라야 배 이신 노보스인데 답배 스페셜 잘라 배 자신부들이 림부시 여바이나 뜻배 개침보 삼로당 그러 배 개침보 삼로당이 따디 제보체 다고 야고 겹 지그러 딜 따디 가레스나 잘라 자신부들 여바이나 디 린단 되게 아니 소소 디종 딘데 쳬바이나 소소를 응의망고를 안에 팬도 연구요라 딘데기 톤데 디 개침보 임보 삼던 거로 이나야 이시기 노보다 딘데기 시부지 소소로 팬도 여바이네 디 팬도디 내가 그 팬도 야나 쳇디기 팬도만도 요마래 그봐 디인데 단에 심제 탐지 이신 노블 렐 학베 이시기 노블 렐 학베 다외 톤에 심제 시엔이야 자치부터 그래서 가래서는 심제 시엔다 시엔사야디 쳇딜로 차샤바이나야 미션다 시엔 심제 시엔다 시엔스 라나 거딘심 그래 학바도 쳇데잠도 마세비 깨워 침말라 삼단에 개침부 차대요 그래서 님 망터도 지기도 샤샤가 못이라고 아직도 때 깨워 침말라 삼단에 개침부 쳇데잠도 마세비 깨워 침말라 개침부 그래서나 먼저 깨워 침말라 삼단 바이네야 깨워 침마 배 깨워 상볼랑 사야다 니네 몽고식 깨워 주비야다 딕보뽕야 그래 깨워 주비야다 딕보뽕야 이네야 배 심제션을 알레게 요래 소놈 사야 이네야 심제션을 알레게 요래 아니 타마 지금 상계의 고반 주비야 사야다 니네 직 차샤바 이네야 그 심제면 딘데 냠니 차요 말했어 디레 북양 능보 삼는 담바 이네 심제션 사야디 오늘에게 소소로 팬도디 이식이 노보게 체딜라 팬토벌 탁바 백기 북양 능보를 팬도 차요 그래서 딘데기 토네 아니 제웠다고 그랬어
So the first verse has so much connotation, and great masters have a lot of different commentaries. And something that I would make it easy for you to understand here is really the first verse is really talking about cherishing others. And here the comparison is with a wish to achieve the highest aim, which surpasses even a wish fulfilling gem. So we have to really understand from the wish fulfilling gem. The wish fulfilling gem is something very precious jewel. If we have a precious jewel in a normal sense as a possession, something that we will value so much, and something we know that if we keep this and then if we trade it at certain point of time, and then we will get lot of lot of benefits or interest out of this. So this kind of jewel, even though it's so precious, but it will give only temporary this life benefit. So now the comparison here is that cherishing others is surpassing even this wish-fulfilling gem. That's the connotation one need to understand. So cherishing others is much more beneficial than the precious jewel or the precious gem. Why it is? Because sentient beings are grateful to us. Sentient beings are grateful not only in this life, but sentient beings has been grateful for the past life as well as the future many lifetimes. Because of the sentient beings, relying on the sentient beings, then all our future life, we will be born in the favorable rebirth. And it's because of the kindness and the gratefulness of the sentient beings. But it is also by relying on in relation to the sentient beings, we engage into positive action as well as negative actions. So it is in relation to the sentient beings that different kind of virtuous state or the non-virtuous can happen. So here, the point here is that relying on the sentient beings, there is so much of gratitude and gratefulness that happen even in the spiritual practice. For us to accumulate enormous amount of merit can happen by relying on the sentient beings. Also, by relying on the sentient beings, it is by benefiting the sentient beings, we reach to the high state of enlightenment. Even while we reach to the high state of Buddhahood, we have to benefit sentient beings. So we here understand that precious gem or a precious jewel is important, but more than that, that cherishing others is surpassing even that. So that kind of level of understanding has to be drawn from the first verse. Yes.
돌되어이나 쇼로가 당보디 qablaya 직심제 현다신 미현다신 사디 개침보이 뭐 섬던 거를.
So what is the summarized version is that we have to cherish sentient beings and we have to see the importance of other beings.
다 미현다신 개침보를 뱄어.
Is other beings important?
왜? Yes or no? Why? Why? Yeah, true. 들어봐. 먼저 먹고 삼는 단시 들어봐. 배는 소소를 차샤비나. 예. 소소 롭종체. 소소 깔래겨. 소소 레가지체. 디네기 토네 소소를 좀제 충분히나. 어디 나래 깔래겨빈스. 챙기러 봐. 현다 낭미 쇼로.
Yes. So normally what happens is when we engage into rigorous studies and then you have a good work and so all these wonderful results come out, you will think that I'm the one who did all this. I worked hard and then I achieved all this. So you don't think about the others. You really, think about what you have achieved by yourself.
지당 딱 가제 접시버 배나 즉 신신시네. 송바 첨부지네. 개바 첨부지네야. 그러와 당연히 전단 첨부지 뭐 있네. 직내도 소소 깔래겨 소소 전단です.
Yes, on a political standpoint, even the president of a country or a great businessman or any kind of professional, they have achieved those standard. Yes, they have worked hard towards that.
이나야 소소를 좀제 먼저 순절의 신바이네. 소소를 좀제 템바디 직내 소소 깔래리 직내 시행을 되는 용도예요.
Yes, all these fruitful results have achieved. Yes, of your own effort is one thing, but the more than that is that there are so many contribution interplayed by the others. It's the dependent arising.
먼저 미편의 메사 농부 동바지 나로려야 지단스로 야는 농부 동바지 나로려야 로컬시 데이터 또직 데이터 가야 매봐 요에 매봐.
So, and why that is so is that if we cannot survive in an empty country with this nothing, that you cannot survive by yourself.
야 니리 소소 농부 동바지나 소소 지고 데이터 다 소소 신신 차요 말이 송바 첨부 차요 말 개바 차요 말 간 차요 말.
And if you stay lonely in that empty country, then you won't become a president, you won't become a business person, you won't achieve anything by yourself.
디인데 안 다가는 생각하면서 그 그냥하게 돌로이네 야마 줘야게 모자이네 배주차야게 셀폰이네 상마 간다 소소 거제 전에 상마들이 소통 말어 봐 디인데 간다 소소로 용대야 먹고지도 원에 쳐버이나 현대 생기 때문에 용대요래 이게 현대 생 매버는 소소 대저 매버 봐.
So even the clothes we wear and the car we get in and the cell phone we utilize, all these we are utilizing these things, but it's all depending on other beings that we are able to achieve all these. So it is very important to understand that the dependent arising, that all these are interdependent.
그러 디인데 양 어서 삼로 코스이래 디다 레스로 현대 생 매버이나 디네 연구 말했어 얘나야 현대 생기 나라야 펜토는 삼예스케 매버스 디 제와스 민도 삼산 트랜스이로.
Yeah. Then also, you might think that yes, it is a dependent arising, but you also have a thought process of saying that these are made not that they thought of me to benefit me.
그러 디인데 딱 나란스 응외네 개침부지야라야 개침부지서 되게 소소로 소 펜심 고야 김인도와 강다 소소로 펜토나 디 개침부지는 지기요레스.
So whether others have seen to benefit us, that is not important. What we are utilizing is beneficial to us. If it's beneficial, then it's important.
인지 메지 소 펜심 고요. 배는 나란스 응외 개침부지기로.
Yeah. and it is very important to understand that money is something we see it as important.
먼저 미망 정의가 제도 교대고 내가 제대고 여러
All the humans are
망세요.
most of us we work so that we have money,
Right.
we gain money.
머니게 가서로 수 편토는 성금인도.
The money itself is not thinking that I would be benefiting them.
Right. 얘나야 가서로 편도 유선 계신 보시고요.
But money while utilizing is benefiting us.
그래서 심지어 현대 신경 소소로 편도 삼박해 매버이나 되는 편토나 계신 보시고.
So whether the other sentient beings want to benefit us or not, that's not a question. The question here is that the the sentient being is benefiting us itself is important.
근데 말했어.
Isn't that so?
배 현대 대화게 준준으로 송고도 아주 상계에서 chen 시우 계신 보시기 여러서 낭바치긴 거네. 봐. 다가는 신기 상계를 계신 보시고는 신기 심지어 현의 계신 보시고 그랬어. 그래서는 상계 계신 보시니 소소로 편도 용보는 신기 심지어 현의 되는 편도 연구요 그랬어.
Chandis, they were stated in the Guide to Bodhisattva's Way of Life that we give so much importance to the Lord Buddha, Buddha himself. So just like we give importance to the Lord Buddha, we also have to give importance to the sentient beings, because it is in reliance with the sentient beings, so much of benefits we gain.
얘네 단 이바디 간도 수다 쪽에서 등이 꾼을 면다 현라 삼바타고에 초도 집을 좀 보셔서 디마시.
And then we go to the second verse is, whenever I interact with others, I will view myself as inferior to all, and I will train myself to hold others superior from the depth of my heart.
다 니가로 가르친 거 열어서는 먼저 원에 현 제보 진야다 전주 생명 냠len다 근데 야보지 요한다 개긴 소디 가르스나 나게 차대.
So the second thing is, as we are practicing cherishing others, what is something in the Buddhist bodhicitta or the bodhisattva practice that is a hindrance or obstacle? It is the pride is the obstacle for our practice.
제가 나게 근데 인도 삼발라야 코딩에 가봐가 직진조 가봐치고를 나도 식시부진 삼사한다로 나 정보이 나 명칭보이 나 송보칭보이 나 릉의 나 직전보인세 니네게 시행로 통중쇼로 시행로 낭매쇼로.
So the pride is something very negative because it obstructs us, and if it will make us superior in a sense that we have the power, we have high position and a career. So you look down on others, you criticize others, you look down. So there is this looking down factor of because of the pride.
근데 딱 강다 수다 로봇에 그냥 사제 가봐요 봐이네 로봇 수요 봐이네야. 등이 꾼을 면다신 소소 로봇 수요네 된솔레 된솔로 통중 마셔봐체 소소 된솔레 멤버도 지금 채고레스.
So the point here is, wherever you stay in a place or wherever you interact with others, it is very important that you try to be humble, try to be lower than others. That is the point here of the second verse.
的确，但现在等于看到说，等于过了面大形势，面不大呀的个，가르스나我开个중국 말에 쓰러와 심슈 차서 자원이는 말에 지안로 통중 마셔보시 또 채스.
Now here, one should not have this wrong kind of understanding that, then I'm inferior. And if it's inferior, then I'm discouraged. I cannot do anything. That's not the factor here. Here, the inferior means that you be humble. You don't want to, you want to be humble. So that is the connotation here.
대신도 최근 나로라야 뽑아 넘버 타버스 뽑아 시사 되는 순구요래. 델레 지금 소소인의 심쟁이 된 주비아이네 니 줍투 선배 뽑아고 그래 심슈고 그래서 이네 니 멤버 타워스도 심슈 배 심슈 차사 이게 사원이는 말에 현달의 통중시에네 아직 시부신 인사 니네 시교 말했어 대처요.
Here, the point here is that you should not look down on others. So that's the point, that you stay humble. But here, the importance here is that when you do this bodhisattva contact, you should have certain level of confidence. So there is a difference between confidence and pride. you definitely need this confidence. And within the scripture, they are different kinds of 4 different kinds of self-confidence. The self-confidence that yes, I can benefit other sentient beings, and I can do by myself. These kind of encouragement, one can do it so that you can engage into bodhisattva context, but you should not look down on others. That is something that is clearly stated by the second verse.
어야 다 쇼라가 숨바디 갑라야 쇼남군도 랑귤라 똑제 니문 깨마타 다시 모르 쉐바네 센답던 똑쇼스
And then we go to the third verse. During all my activities, I will prop my mind as soon as an affliction arises, since it endangers myself and others. I will train myself to confront it directly and prevent it.
근데 인도 전주 쌤게 냠네 체야다 셴 제부 체야다 다가는 신기 로와 근데 제게 용아야라야 개개 망고지도 가려서나 소소이 규라야 공도 셰다 차도 올라서 로년 받은서 게인도 안 된서 연구요 말해 근데 인도 쇼라가 숨바디 갑라 전남 간제 소소 삼로를 슈다 치고야 돼 숨고요
So the third verse talks about when a bodhisattva engages in the bodhisattva's behavior or the conduct, there are difficulties and challenges that negative emotions state of mind arises in one mind. So what here it talks about the third verse is really we have to look to our own mind or research our own mind.
대체 대인데 지원함군도 랑귤라 똑신 이문게 맞다 소소 지원함군도 내가 치게 연애 참잔 주고 연애야 미진님도 깨지 시게 연애야 소소 삼로려야 지원함군도 랑귤 소소 규되려야 딱제 세월에 성원 대체
So then, what it means that when you go into your work, or you go for a leisure walk, or you are interacting with anybody, it is very important that you are always watching your own state of mind and constantly watching that.
ngazo 망고 책대 배나 최치기 했으니지 임바 연애야 소소 낭미 쇼니 공도 시당 착도든 망고 시게 인고요 깨버디야 ngazo 갑리 낭미 쇼 하고요
So even though we say we are Dharma practitioners, but sometimes we get distracted and we are not mindful of these then and all those negative state of mind get perturbed.
근데 인도 딱제체네 소소기라야 또지 니문께마다 공도 시당라서 로딘데지 야나 기로 지기요 봐 야나 게 요바이나 남상 가르쳐 버서나 낭매 마셔버시 각답시스
So what is here stated is it's very important to examine one's own mind, or watch your own mind, because as soon as an anger or negative state of mind, as soon as it arises or it has arisen, then it is important that you try to remove that negative state of mind.
다 공도 시당 처음에 로년버든서 게 인도 근데스 까고래 샤베나 상계기 좀 되된게 된서 야고 말에 승구도 사 디네 많이 봐 랑기 라미 겨울음실라서 승구도 사 디네 많이 저 공도 시당 처음에 로년버든서게 괜디 삼로다는 까고래스
So it is very important that when you reduce this negative state of mind or diminish, how do we do is not just enough by saying that this is stated by Lord Buddha, this is stated by my Lama, like His Holiness the Dalai Lama. That itself is not sufficient enough. What is more important here is that you understand that these negative state of mind, if arises in your mind, it is caused so much of disadvantage to yourself. So that is something you have to scrutinize.
딱 교회인데 가르삼당으로서는 공도 시당에서 로년버든서 게인데 다시 모르는 셔바나 소소 먹이 봤어 봐 소소 자와 제단도 소이네 배 록발을 줘야 텔 다가는 신기 공도 시당으로 선배 소소 강했어 봤음도 마세베 현다를 강했어야
So then seeing these negative state of mind, harmful to us, it's harming us, first of all, disturbing our own mind, and also it also causes disturbance to others. So that kind of understanding should arises within your mind.
들어봐 배는 공도다 원래 차샤베나 교회 망고시라 요레스
Let's take an example of anger. Anger is something that has so much of negativeness.
교회 망고 요래 요 말레스
Does it have any kind of disadvantages or negativities?
들어봐 단다 우무죽바 반대 나오고 우무죽에 나로 공도 교인들은 송요래 제가 다 슝망고는 콘르교 망고 송여라 배전을 쉬고 있나 봐.
So anger, in entering to the middle way, Chandrakirti has stated very much about all the negativities of anger. And although a lot of scripture has stated very much,
가래에서는 미두 속수 체신스 강보델라 돈이 수차 그랬어.
first is that it causes the external manifestation, it becomes very ugly. You become ugly with anger.
먼저 먼저 일단 닝제몰 가고요 돈이를 가고요.
All of you like beautiful or something ugly.
rồi ta chỉ nhìn chỉ một người ngoài bên đó mong có chỉ chú thủ lô dễ vô rồi chỉ còn trả đồng số sắp ta rồi chỉ là hiện nay ya không có chỉ là này đó nhận bây giờ tiền đến rồi nhìn chỉ một ngoài mình đó.
Of course, we like to do all this makeup and dress well, all this so to beautify ourselves. But when the anger comes, then all our demeanor and our expression of manifestation becomes very ugly.
rồi 계속 그제 제 쉬우지 저거 지는 콩도 써야 되는 민닝 좀 통고 말아.
Even though one put up all these cosmetics, but if you really get angry state of mind, when people look at you, it's ugly.
미도 속에서 제신 담바 멤버 디스 제가 딱 콩으로 된 사바이나 되게 콩저 왕도 손에 지난 제 야구를 진바이네야 콩저지 사인데 안에 벤욕로 먹고 쏘고도.
And then when a person becomes angry, then all kind of problem arises.
rồi 얘네 추다 수미시바 남주 초제지 콩도 쉬워지 사인데 남규 어디 내가 되잖아 어디다 지금 말이 되잖아 팀로 도그래 녀로 속으로서는 남주 삼로 당 통해진 바이나 콩도 쉬워지 사이드도 된서 상무 제네 아래 남서 축복자 세 쉬워지 체지기도.
So then, even though we had an intelligent mind, during if you are not disturbed, the intelligent mind knows that if you don't want to cause problem, so in order not to get into prison. But when you are in the angry state of mind, then your intelligence goes out of the window. So then you make very difficult decisions that disturbs.
뭐만가 로 죽든 시간에 싱가포르 스트레베가로 디 포머지 토갈레송스.
So I will tell you a story 6-7 years back. Then one Singaporean lady came to see me.
딱 싱가포르는 뭐란 싱가포르 대고도 얘네 계급 신다네 레셔스.
So she's a Singaporean, but she's from a different country.
딱 뭐란 배팀로 토니 강에 쉬우신 양대셔.
So she was having a very challenging situation with the law.
대단 딱 뭐란 님이 포머신다지 님도 대세로 쇼. 아니 콩도세니 파 포모디로 즉 락버 칼로레 즉 슈그리스 겸니시데 포모디 이어링 요르바 딜 테네 포모션다 마스도 니네 차트현도.
So then this individual woman who came to see Rinpoche, at one point she became so angry at another woman, and so she tried to push that woman, and so strongly that it really pushed her earring, and it caused bleeding from her ear.
딱 버저디기 뭐라는 뇌견 당송 시에 빠르든 저자 배 팀을 도도.
And then this person who got hurt, she took photographs of all the things that she got hurt, and she filed a lawsuit.
딱 뭐라 팀기 톤에 배 체보 포로 체디도 다 쉬우지 감라다 다 먹이고 쉬우지 뭐라 쉬우지도.
So because of that lawsuit, she had a lot of stress and anxiety.
딱 뭐라 배디 배 싱가포르의 직전에 봐 배로 오면 좋았어요. 다디 대바이나 팀기 톤의 직전에 뭐 종가나 저기 뒤지 튕튕들이 쭉 시기를 써야 돼. 쉬운 감라시기도.
So she was so restless and anxious that maybe I should go out of Singapore, because if I stay there, then I would be imprisoned to a certain number of time, or I will have to pay a fine, a heavy fine. So she was in a lot of stressful state.
뭐라는 게 나보다 안 넘겨 디렉 켜네. 지밀로 구샵 쳐야 여러 디 쉬우지. 딱 가르쳐 있는 스탠드라고 딘데 차스.
she said that normally I'm not a person like that who gets angry. I am a very respectful person of others, but I don't know in that state why did I do that.
다 공덕이 딘데 차이로.
So this all because of the anger that came to her mind.
다 딘데 저래. 딘데 인도 삼발이야. 다 로년바 니문도 저게 교통네. 다시 모르는 쳐버는 센덥도는 또 봐시 우수 겸네 교통네 꼭답쳐.
So the most important here is that when the negative emotions or negative state of mind arises, one need to rectify it, because you have to remind yourself that it endangers myself and others. So I will try my best and as steadfastly as you can to confront it directly and prevent it.
대체 다디네 쇼로가 시버디 랑싱이 베심제 레도 랑싱이 베심제는 디두 잡고 있는 동세 린제때다 트래버시 니버거위 진세소스 땅아저 현라야 제부 최고의 사게 진생로 장고로 디로 장세디 소소 파만다 다가는 생기 부구다 초보 초모다 사상다 디로 장세 디지고 말해 단단한서 로 장세도 상발라 로데 야게 야고지 땅구도 상발라야 깔레 카고 지기 토네 옆에 야 조토나 따디 누버침 보시고 차고 여러 디인데 쇼로가 단다 시버디 갑라야 로 장세디 로 장세디 야 데스 깔레 카고 지를 장에 숨고 여랬어
So now we go to the fourth verse. When I encounter beings of unpleasant character and those oppressed by intense negative karma and suffering as though finding a treasure of precious jewels, I will train myself to cherish them, for they are so rarely found. So this now fourth verse is something very specific training. It's not in relation to your parents or your mother, your kids, your relatives, something that you are affectionate about. But this cherishing others is really training to something a more challenging or difficult relationship or difficult person. So if you do that, then you are really striving towards this mind training exercise.
하버드 로전 세계에 단다 로정야데 세토보지기 돈을 쓴거 여러 디양 토르 시샤고
So it is very important that for 8 verses of mind training is a training that is very superior, something that is an advanced kind of training.
딘데 인도 랑싱 예배 심제나 디두 타고 있는 동서 단 남균의 미크셰베 쩌방 예배딘데 도와 그러와 배 내가 님 독자 체등이 쩌방 예배 체등이 딘데 도와 딘데와 인도 랑싱 예배 심제나 디두 타고 있는 동서 특특 교사로 봐 랑싱 예배 심제나 디두 타고 딘데왜 미 랑싱 예배 된소라야 다배 강에 딘데 체인데 나사레 디네 강에 체인데 가서 망고치기 딱다레 콘 나호레 코드베 발셰 용고 유사 디네 삼성 체이로 디네 삼도 당겨 말레스 런싱 인베스먼트 디두 타고 있는 손세 런진 때다 트래베시 니버거 진지소 학발도 콘솔로 로그램 체오레스 베 노부 자침부 라바 능싱기 때가 자침부들 라바 능싱기 가서 때가 자침부터 캐침부 쓰기로 디 능싱기 콘솔로야 런싱 인베 미팅솔로야 소소응원에 베 낭매 마담버체 강둡지도 콘솔 열게 뚜도 콘솔이야 배 로그램 채워레스.
Yes. So yes, there are so many individuals who have the natural tendency to cause problems. We all see those kind of individuals with very unpleasant behavior and characteristic. So in this training of the mind, it really talks about that when these negative people, when they fall sick and when they have obstacle, it is very important that we should not be rejoicing in their sickness or anything. Instead, we should really try to assist them and help them as much as we can, because this is just like a rare precious jewel that we have found, because the jewel that if we find it is something valued. So just like that, we see value in these difficult sentient beings, and so we should benefit as much as possible.
올라서 디셰. 다 디셰라야 쇼로가 nga버베 디셰데.
No.
쇼로가 nga버 디게 다 딜레냐 로장 깔레 카가지 쓴거 여러 당기 딜레.
Then the fifth verse is a verse which is much more advanced than the fourth verse, and is a higher advanced training.
강라다기 차도기 시골라서 미리비 경가랑 gellem보다 개가시나 비오쇼스. 다 소소용원에 내가 논주단인데 가ям 마셔버체 내가 딘데 하산 남다 체유바 있네야 미크셰기 라라야 탁도다 딘제기 왕기 아니 백견주 제야다 그러봐 틱톡담 소야라고 딘제지 제바 있네야 오코영아 견주 제소 코영아를 심이 견주 제송 세네 남사 소소랑 김젠도 체네 개심부 세네 아니 남산파 신다들라야 파 콘렌로야라고 지교요 말이스
Yes. So then the next verse.
로다
Yes. So then the fifth verse is when others out of jealousy treat me wrongly with abuse and slander, I shall train to take the defeat upon myself and offer the victory to others. Now, this fifth verse is even more difficult than the earlier ones because here, even this is something that we do our best wholeheartedly and sincerely in all our contact, but somehow out of jealousy by other person other individuals will cause harm to us or also denigrate us and have a false opinion of us. When these things happen, then we have to endure it, because we endure it so that we don't see any self-importance to us, but rather we endure this and to cherish others, and that is a much more superior advanced kind of mind training.
어야 딘제 안 딘데 왜 소소를 견주체 딘데지 체네 오코영아 견주치기도 체네 파 마가와 체네 파야 콘렌로야 세셰셰 딘데 지교 말에 따야 고버 김센 셴을 때네 양고 제베이네 세셰로 제베이네 펜셈기 토네 바치야 딘데 체초로 따야 고 네다한테 딜되게 되게 셔스
So it is very important that if the other person denigrates you, then you don't retaliate by, responding to that. Instead, you just endure that of not retaliating anything. But also, we have to see to the circumstances. If it's a meaningful purpose, but through the kindness, we can respond it. And so it depends on the situation, what is appropriate or not.
어야 디셰 다 디제라야 다 텔레기안 깔레 가고 저승 거요래 디제라
So then the next six words is actually more advanced and more difficult to practice.
어야 칸라다게 펜다게 레워체와 가시기 신도 메레네 체나 신이 담바 따오쇼 체네 다 소소의 응원에 파 밀어야 미제라 파 로버쇼 지체 펜도쇼 지체 딘데왜 펜도 제베실 응외 체나 추 틀린 제고야 치르와 틀린 제규 첩려야 추 돈도 녀버 개버 이네 딘데왜 녀버 갱이 텔라 응원에 전에 소소 전주심 냠내 칭해지다 다시 냠제기 냠내 칭해지 응원에 다 디더부디 소소의 냠내디 약다 응원에게 제사라고 지기 소소 냠내기 다 다시 냠제다 현진적이 냠내 제사로 개겐라고 지다 소소로 응원에 전에 최다 칭이라고 지 딘데지 따위 돈을 돈도파 신이 담보 따오쇼스
Yes. And then the sixth verse is even if one whom I have helped or in whom I have placed great hope gravely mistreats me in hurtful ways, I will train myself to view him as my sublime teacher. So this verse is even more harder. Now here it's of course in a general sense that if we have helped so much to other person, they should repay the kindness in showing gratitude and gratefulness. But here the verse says that if that kind of kindness we have showered on others, but instead of repaying and they denigrates, and if they do hurtful things to us, a person who is a bodhisattva practitioner who practices bodhicitta has to cherish others. So you have to bring to mind that my focus is to cherishing others. My focus is that I engage into the exchanging of oneself to others. So I am a bodhisattva practitioner. So this is a opportunity, a test for me, how I engage into the practice. So then in that way you have to see that individual in the light of your own teacher, spiritual teacher.
ngoma choji bande adisha stibang gar shirikana ta khong phela phe lo jubdin shune ta phela sangge gi tembo ba tharshin ge ba na ya ta te pe mesebe katin chimbure
There was a great master Adisha Bhumkara Shirigyana who stayed in Tibet for long 17 years, and he has extensively flourished the Dharma.
콩 전주 쌤기 냠lên 전주 쌤 친보직 차대 그래
He was a bodhicitta practitioner and he was a high bodhisattva.
딱콩 별로 팬에 로망고슈 딱 벼버 속에 쉬고 콩 개겐 친보지 상매 규시업체 쉬우디 쉬고요레스
So the Tibetans and the devotees show a lot of respect to this teacher.
딘데 인데 삼발라야 다 콩기디 숭구 콩다 별레페 최송 딘데 chen 로마다 딘데 길라야 배 최기 토니 저든 가숑부 제 숑부로 봐 이나야 콩 다신 냠셰기 토니레 스베 냠네레 텐소 냠네 콩비 드로야라야 데스칼레 두사 숭부르스
So then, of course, he was able to extensively flourish the Buddha Dharma and gave a lot of teaching. But he has stated that in terms of his development of patience, has been quite challenging.
가인세 창매 콩을 구십시에 되어라 디인데 콩스부 공사스 시라시라 메드니르죠
So why it is that so? Because all the devotees are showing only respect. So there was no chance for him to practice patience.
제 대세대 아니 디 콩기 디승고요래 디인데 나 자할이야 배 문에 거딘 신부 카셰시요 믹 진젠 카셰시요 승고요래
And then he would say a story that while I was in India, I have few individuals who I have been very grateful.
가인세나 콘수 거리는 때는 오늘 나 수배 냠낸다든지 쉬우주 공내 콩도 피기였어
And because of them, because of these few individuals, I was able to develop my patience to quite a strength.
다들 인도 삼발 가르스는 야갈이야 조지반데 어디샤 딱 개바침보다 니네 인도 콩라야 탁도 진행다 니네기 토니야 배 견주 제배 콩라야 배 탁도 체니 니네 뭐 그시 여러 디 인도 삼발 다 된수 조지반데 어디샤 봐 수복 겁나 오늘 자네기 콩 수백 냠네 콩네 콩도 폐야라야 된수 백거린 신부인 세송요래
So, because in India, while he was in India, and he was a great, scholar, practitioner. So there was so many individuals who have a lot of jealousy to him, and they would criticize him. So those people who have caused jealousy and criticism, he took those as an opportunity to develop his own patience.
근데 니들 니뭐지 당어서 셰서를 지기요래 공기 공수설의 beauty 쇼스모레스
So then there is a saying that he told that please bring monkey where I stay.
why 가르스
A monkey.
가르치는 소모레스
Do you know why he said that? 그런 무슨 더웠어요, 시도를.
그래 야
Yes.
beauty 배야 공기 잘라도 또 욕다 쇼스으로
Because monkey would jump around and spoil things. Yes, it will irritate him.
이거 세고 겁났어
So then it'll test to develop his patience.
세상 니네 담기요 대체 따딘 다쇼로가 dum바딘바 쇼로가 dum바디 도는 것은 규바이 팬데만은 꾸는 거 많이 뇌도 등을 사면 달라 렘버쇼 센터 디컬롱문이 타네셔바이나 다 다시 냠식이 냠는 무시 동랭이 냠는 수고요래
So the seventh verse, I'll read. In brief, I will train myself to offer benefit and joy to all my mothers, both directly and indirectly, and respectfully take upon myself and all the hurts and pains of my mothers. Now, this is the actual practice of the Toklen, which is exchanging oneself to others. And this is the crucial verse which really talks about the Toklen practice.
디인데 동랭이 냠는 사야디 뱀미세베다 즉 소남 야첨부 사야 다하는 생게 전주기 셈냐 권내콘도 폐하기 냠네 내 침보 유된교 다가는 생게 즉 소소라야 나사라 소바데 딘데지 충분히 있네요 소소기 나사와들 저 생게 심제 탐제기 동해된소 소소 내야다 딘데기 토네 소소 나사 된소 있네요 갱 연버된소 전주기 남도 규답셔야다 할 레벨 명아스 냠네 침보시레스
This is a very profound practice, the seventh verse, which has lot of extensiveness in terms of engaging in the bodhicitta practices, and it will enhance one's bodhicitta in your mental stream, because you are focusing in cherishing others, and also particularly when you are in a difficult state, when you fall sick or any kind of challenges happen, you will take upon the suffering of others, that may my sickness be an opportunity to purify all the sentient beings' difficulties or sicknesses and negativity. So this is a training on the Toklen of exchanging oneself to others. It is a very powerful practice in developing bodhicitta, and also every kind of difficult circumstances you bring it in to the path of practice to reach to the high state of enlightenment. It is an incredible, profound practice.
단다 로종 세계면 제법어 랑리 통보 도지 생기 콩기 송여를 콩기 우다야 춘제네 타메를 켜는 당기면서 배 동랭기 미국에 있는 거 유스는 송여래 콩기 기부 담바 망고 있는 거 요래 다들 배나 다다 샤션 라마스 버는 뭐지 담바 샤샤바 있는 동랭기 냠네 싫어하는 거 요래
So this is a very profound practice. This great composer, Lhari Thangpa Dojisenge, he himself has stated very clearly that even my breath, when I do the breathing, inhale and exhale, I don't waste it in an ordinary sense. I utilize this for the Toklen practicing of exchanging oneself to others. And they are great masters of the past who had done these kind of profound practices, and particularly in relation here to the Lama Zopa Rinpoche, he used this profound practice, and he did a lot of Tonglen practices himself.
대체 대인도 따디네 치 쇼로가 dum바디 답 데버르시마 치기랑 지시시마 슈나타 동네 상무 슈토에 민도와 되즈민도
So I will say it very in easier terms of the seventh verse because of the we don't have much time.
대인도 따 도나응원선 규바에 펜데만은 군라뷰스 따 단기 강라야 송샹교기 로와 냠렌디기 수 돔갸바이나스로와 도나응원선 규바에 펜데만은 군 도르도바이는 스스 응외네 응외소 셴 심제 탐제라 칸토도기 펜도 체고레스 소소기 응외소 펜토 모토바 임바이나야 규베토네 아니 바직 몰람 순제네 갸야 냐 셴라 레와 쩨네 오 디디르 로바체로체 라베야 라소바 디디 체고레스 도나응원선 규바에 펜데만은 군라뷰스 도르도나 마심제 탐제라 펜바치 쪽버레 숭가던 규베토네 데네 마이 뇌다 동해군 사회달라 렘바쇼 마심쟁게 동해디 소소 시답 체베qab라야 양원세 되어버체네 딘데 마임바 딘데 지체고레스
So it is, in brief, the seventh verse is really talking about, that you take on the suffering of mother sentient beings. That is something very important. And whether you can help directly or indirectly, you want to benefit others. And then when you take on the suffering of others, you do this respectfully and secretly instead of being very obvious with your practices. So basically what it says is that directly or indirectly, you want to benefit other mother sentient beings. That's the essential practice.
대체 아데네 쇼로가 개바디기 지간 당분이디 대다 군견 최격이 똑배 팀에 마방신 딱 강라야 숭샹격이 돌드는 냠렌 된소 직된 최격이 온도 마송 깨자 용야다 야지기 바 소소라야 닝고르 용야다 로와 딘제기 체도 마임바 오늘 전에게 학선 남다지기 돈에 셴베랑 체도 체고레스
So then the eighth verse, the first two line is really talking about by ensuring that all these remains undefiled from the stains of the eight mundane concern. So eight worldly concerns is all these above practices. When I engage into the bodhicitta practices, I'm not doing this for this worldly fame, wealth, recognition, praise, all these. You are not seeking those. That is something very, very important.
대체 나디네 타마 시간이보데 어야 대다 군게 최게 더버 죽은 규마 셰벨을 심해 청원래 주쇼 신 다디갑라 된담배 셈 장답디 송구요래
And the third and the fourth line really is and by understanding all things as illusion, I will train myself to free all on the bondage of clinging. So this really talks about the ultimate bodhicitta.
딘도 다 단계 쇼로가 당보 된수갑라 가르송버스나 로장 란진생기 로데 장야 로와 란제버슨베 로데 장야게 체도 셴케 침부임바 따야다 셴제버슨야 다 셈바 상볼라서버 체베 토네 란진생 로장답송 다치가 타만이기 qab라야 동니 삼로 따네 도르드나 란진생 삼로 장다 송고
And then, the earlier verses and also the eighth verse, the first and the true line, really is talking about how we can reduce this self-cherishing mind, and how can we improvise and enhance this cherishing others mind. So it is all talking about the conventional bodhicitta. The last third and the fourth line is also of cherishing others. We are doing that cherishing of others, but it has the hold of the wisdom aspect of the emptiness.
그렇지. 근데 인도 다 죽은 규모시벨레스 나란 속에 들어봐. 소소 삼로 소소 들어봐. 응외진배 갑이네다. 소소게 배주체하게 자랑 응외진배 갑이네다. 최 컨데르지를 다 돌드는 응외진배 갑 응외진체배 갑라야. 응외진단데 데스 지기요 말이야.
Normally, when we try to identify ourselves as well as identify the things that we possess, and how we identify is something we misapprehend.
맞아 그대인의 나 그대 나 기부 중나 나를 동해 뭐 중나 상마 승부 열어.
We all want happiness and we don't want suffering.
어? 승부돼.
Do you all think about it?
디삼백갑라 나스 디삼발라 333년 나갈럽데 직 주구주야 윤결하고지 삼코도.
So normally, when we have this kind of feeling, we feel that that self or I is something that is pointable,
도민도.
doesn't it? So
yes. 제사 띵띵 가서 상교 좀 대된 가르 숨고로서나 나 매버에 싸우는 숨고 요말 내 내가 치그래 내 내가 상해 치그래 상마쳐요 그래서
when that self is not there, the Buddha didn't indicate it that self is not totally there. Yes, self is there. There is a functional self that is doing all these positive and negative engagement of actions.
얘나야 나 사야디 간주 삼로 담바는 신경 나 딘듯이 요말 수고조에 딘듯이 요말
But that the self that we apprehend, that solidify I, that is something that's not there.
좋아 딘딩아 수고조야지 여바이나 나 요새 풍부히 나로네 수고조야지 니기 주거봐 티 요말 신달라도 대외 요말 봐
Yes. And then why it is that so is, if I is something that is pointable, then I should be something that should be found in the five aggregates. And within the five aggregates, we cannot find it. Then there is no other way that we can find this I.
저다 풍부히 나로라야 속이 풍부히 나로라 아직 제가 신은 나 임바지 니에 켜는 요말
If we look into the form aggregate from every nook and corner, we cannot find that entity I.
속이 나로 아주 속락뱅원에 제가 신에 나 임바지 니가 말해 타는 뉴텐에 나는 나 임바지 제가 돈이 나 임바지 니가 요 말했어
And from the form aggregate, even on the grosser form aggregates, we cannot find that I. And even in the minutest particles, we cannot find that I.
다가는 신기 시베 나는 제가 돈에 나 임바지 니가 요 말했어
In the same way, in the consciousness, if we try to find it, we cannot find it.
근데 인도 삼발라야 도르되는 나 랑싱그르베 똥바스 낭베 승구 요르바 디인데 나 랑싱그르베 똥바스데 나 켜네 매베기지만 메체 이나야 나디 덕싱 외네 임바직 주구조야지 요 말했어 텔랑 나 랑싱그르베 똥바스 승구
So it is important that when we talk about this, we talk about the absence of inherent existence. That kind of understanding is important. The absence of inherent existence of all the phenomena is something that we that is talking about the emptiness aspect. But there is no objectified, solidified I. That is not there.
대신도 저기 나란속에 배주체하게 잘라인바이네 상보다 독자다 냠바 그러봐 지금 닝제모다 닝제모 마인바다 신부사야다 된 상모 유그 코랭 when 드프테시 요 말에 파 지금 르 샤바 직단 딘데기 토네 모도 주구소에 코르 니규치 요 말. 코랭 when 드프시 요 말스
So just like that, all the phenomena, all the positive, negative, something that beautiful, ugly, something that is tasty or not, all these are when we think that it appears from the objective side. But that's not true. It's not from the objective side. It is only through the mere designation of our own projection that these appears.
이나 영어저 3년 나로 닝제모 마임바 독자 약보 신부 마임바서도 코레 문해직 신부 이인 된교 독자 이인 된교로 것이 소르고 요리 이내 된서 상문 노 된교스레스.
So, but in actuality, when we see the things about beautiful, tasty, and all these of different kind of objects, we think that they appear from the objective side. But the truth is, it's not true. It is our own mental designation that we have played the role, and that's why this is a misapprehension.
그래서 dinne 인도 상발라야 대다 최대다 추경 규머시 밸류스 먼저 데 매직 된데 여러 매직 다 규머스기로 매직이 도 체인드 상발라야 따드바 지우라고 된데 뚜인 거봐 뚜인데 이나 먼저 지우는 게 열에 지우 통고 열에들 뭐열에 지우스케 요마로 봐 디나싱 아란 속에 배 천나라야 랑궁원에 두고 주주에 인거라고 직 소르고 열에 코랭원에 둡 땡겨져 소르고 열에들 퇴원에 요마르스 디인데 추경 규머시 밸류 시메 생활에르쇼 템버 셴범 메바직 디르지 용보 쇼스 디
Yes, sir. And then so here it is that we have to understand the illusory factor here, that whatever appears, even though it appears from the objective side, but the truth is it is all mere designation from our own mental state. So what you have to think is like a magical illusion. A magical illusion, if a magician has made the illusion of seeing birds, yes, we can. The birds appear to us, the birds, but it is absence of inherent existence. That kind of understanding, if it comes, then you won't have this bondage or a clinkingness or attaching to it. It appears, but it doesn't appear in the way that is pointable. It is absence of inherent existence. That kind of mental state, if you habituate, then you are thinking about the ultimate bodhicitta.
딘데 인도 삼발라야 딘데왜 삼로다니 나세야디 베나 소두고 주바 주구주에 인겨더버식 난게 요리 소구 요리 되는데 요 말에 생활은 싱도 동바 나이 롱초에게 최도도 요 말에 써야 되게 직내 된다별로 장야 되려 니네 란진신 숙충도 주고 요래 이 조단의 가레스 샤바이나 먼저 삼려 나로리아 나 개침보 임베 삼로시 레게 요래 삼려 시자디 삼려는 가스도 주구주에 인겨 술도 있다고 삼로시 예 디 예배 띵네 아니 나 개침보레 삼바 란진신 로드 레인 거 요래 디인데 따 란진신 로드 게인데 란진신 제사기 시딩에 가와도 주구주서 뇌 디삼단데 주구주서 민도 삼바직 소라 레인데 랑싱기 나 개침보 제사 고랭은 주구주서 민도와 삼산 레인데 랑싱디 숙충로
So the importance of this understanding of the absence of inherent existence, if you really try to critically analyze in this fashion, what it will help is the emptiness wisdom aspect of this crucial scrutinization process will help in reducing your self-cherishing. And so the benefit is that by doing the wisdom aspect of the absence of inherent existence, your own self-cherishing mind will reduce, because it cannot find a pointable self that is solidified, unitary, existent. So in that fashion, we can understand that the absence of inherent existence is crucial in reducing the self-cherishing mind. And in that way, if you can do that, then you are developing this ultimate bodhicitta training.
좋아. 딘데 인도 삼발라야 배낭 어저데 매직 다네. 타부가라 또 차시고야샤나 차디야 코요용구르와.
So let's take an analogy here that if we are boiling tea in a kettle and there's a fire.
딘데다 또 샤샤나 차코에네 차 류용구르와스.
If we leave it like that, over time it will boil and it will overflow.
딘데다 디간라야 ngel chu changmuji ma lobeina ya ma ja duwa.
If we add a little cold water, then it will subside the heat.
디는 생아 저 삼려 나로 공로다 shedan다 딘데게 뇌sem게 야 죽스야 셈데 투윤데 다 디갑라야 셈바 상보 쳐야다. 다가는 생게 현제 현진생게 로 장야다. 쇠바대야다 디 카레스나 셈데 툭데야 공로 shedan라서 봐. 마 레미아도 니갑 자야도 샤데.
So when we have these negative state of mind of anger and a negative state, it's just like boiling. It's all this disturbance. So when we think about reflect on this emptiness aspect of the wisdom, and then also generate the opposite of patience, developing kindness, compassion, and all this, then it's just like adding additional water, so it sort of calms down.
다초 자대간 초실로네 데스마 제그레 야 메카메나 양야야 라인 거로 차대
But
양야 코인 거로
no. But over time, again, it will boil if we have not turned off the fire.
딘데다 탑디 마가보도 두시안에 양데 레기로
So unless we turned off the fire, it'll keep on boiling.
딘데다 메드가 거로
So we have to stop the fire.
다 메카야게 최대 가레스나 동이 삼로다니 란제보 체사기 나드 가바도 디스 네다야고 디 곰네 텔데네 아니 란진진 각답 란진진 까네 콩르셰단로 각답 셔야지 동 따디리 디인데 동이 삼로다니 니몬라서 각답 셔야지 메세야 탑시 셔다 시래 셈바 상볼라서 체네 덴졸로 장야디 아니 디가나 레미아도 차대
So here in this analogy is that to turn off that fire is it's just like meditating on the absence of inherent existence of the wisdom aspect of the emptiness. If you keep on habituating, then you get familiarized with it, and then you can turn off the fire, and that's like you are really applying the wisdom aspect. But if you are not able to turn off the fire, but instead adding additional water, keep on when it keeps on boiling, you keep on adding additional water, it is just like applying the antidote of generating compassion and loving kindness on. So these are temporary method, but the ultimate method is the wisdom aspect of the absence of inherent existence.
딘데르웨스
And this is how it is. Is it so?
야야야. 어이 딘데 인데 겨울음지 그뒤에 다 셈바 상보 전주 셈곰 동리곰 신 캐침부가 난데도.
And that's why His Holiness repeatedly urge us to really meditate on the compassion of the bodhicitta and the wisdom realizing emptiness.
야 알았지. 다 딘데 로존 세계마디 너다 나라이네 디티단 롱다 겨울음지라 소베 군디네 몽고 토바시스.
So this precious text, 8 verses of mind training, for me, I have received many times from His Holiness the Dalai Lama, the transmission and the commentary, and from other teachers.
야, 다 니네 실험 연구 롱신다. 다 로존 세계에 토네 다 전주sem라 소베 정답디 소르체. 다 실험 연구라 소베 간네다 양타베 따와드 소스고요라.
And then, so we, with this, we have finished the 8 verses of mind training, which is on the compassion aspect of generation bodhicitta. Now I will do the transmission of the Heart Sutra, which which it touches on the wisdom aspect.
딘도다 실험 연구 콜라야 제셰슈에 투즈스 케민도 다 망제 망고 킹게 이게래 딘도다 마 롱디 뷰싱인다.
So for the wisdom aspect, I don't have much time, so I would like to give the transmission of the Heart Sutra now.
야. 겨우게도 방가고도 장게 바르면도 시대에 벽에도 전대되면 실어 버려지면 뭐 좀대되면 실어 버려지면 사서 되게 나게 되잖아. 좀 되게 개가 저거 본거를 기능이 근데 좀보다 중요스면 근데 좀보다 탑지도 쇼 대세 좀 되서 뭐라고 시죠. 좋은 남자게 딩에서는 유니버시티 양대에서 중요스 뭐 선물 좀 보고 신에서 운쪽에 실하게 버려지면 선물 집안이나 남바제 부모가 버대다라 신기 동반 넘버도 되나 생기게 되세다는 메시를 신에서 뭐 선물 좀 보고 신에서 운쪽을 되게 지면서 리기 보면 하나로 실하게 버려지면 선물 좀 되고 되치달라 버제 되게 지면보다 중요스 뭐 선물 좀 보고 신에서 운쪽에 세다 저러다 되볼라 되게 지면서 실어버리게 보면 하나로 실하게 버려지면 선물 좀 되고 되다 넘버 타고서 부모가 버대다 신기 동반 양도 버제다 소동 동반 유소 솔로 동반 시험에 동반이라게 수치만 있는 디진도 소화도 되지도 넘버 15 동반 실어버리다 오는 동반 최근에 동반인데 생임에 막아봐 좀 매우 정말도 저 매우 매우 실어버리다 오는 동반인도 소미 소음인데 취미도 취미 넘버 15 민민 나오면 남이 지밀미 소매 좀 리즘에 취미도 미게 카메라 이게 카메 이게 넘버 15 không 파도 힘도 머리바 세바메반 가시메 가시 세바 파도 힘도 디지도 공어도 공쇼도 거보다 남이 심이 토바 마토바 힘도 실어버리다 오는 중에서만 도움이 실하게 버려지 뭐 선물들 되는데 선을 좀 이제 저 시절로 신도 되는 양알에도 다 하신도 넘버 15 등등 넘버 15 상계팀에도 실하게 버려지 뭐 dela samudela dena lana ba yang to bo so so ngo bo so sang te da won shira por je ba ro shi ba na me mi ba da ni ba nga dunga tem je de sho shi ba nga mi zo ba na de ba sho shi de shira ge por je ba nga me te da ka de da para sang de bo de so shira bo jin sama sama je te da shira ge por je ma sambola la ba che wo de ne jim de de ding is in de la shin de jin sama sama je ba po chen so je ge tam je de me ko de da la da me da ha ma yin jin sama sama je ba po chen so je le so shi che wa chen le so re ge bo de de ne re ge bo de de che da jo ge tem ba shi de shira ge por je sambola che ba je de shin wa na me je zo yiro chim de de ge che ka现在么晓得他的我的学什么什么就不跑现在是我觉得他们觉得他们可能的他们他们应该这是这边这些人他们在那个送不了我不对的哦呀但是겨울음식 군대네 가 터비를 딱 라마 생기 군대네 터비였어
And this I've received directly from His Holiness the Dalai Lama and other masters.
올das 티셰 인도
Thank you
다데
very much.
어 안들인데 생계 면에 최소로 자야 춤부터 난 행계수 제 당연히 단계대 최대 rumbuche de ngaran so de dos nyamdo che ane yige chöden zo yagushira tanda shanda dos shana sha tu che che shue yin so
So it has been really honored that I've come here and to the land of Medicine Buddha, met you all, the Sangha community and everybody here. And earlier we have witnessed the stupa and we have get together and it has been really rejoicing.
al habado de chozo sha wa ina saja ine be shingna kila kagu sembo pe me se be kiudos
And this place is very conducive and it's in a deep forest and it's very secluded.
be symbol holo do je be kiudos
And the mind is very calm and peaceful. It's good.
al habado da chozo tanda also 시월시보다 라마 이시에게 대샤나 다 탄도보로 십주시 안디네 다 서버는 뭐지 담박에 백강나니 다도 전에 오늘 전에 콩나버니 투지 거진을 때네 다도스 총 안디 토라야 다 제일 상매 오늘게 굴레게 도스 체 드브데버시레 딘든스 베 투지 체스 쇼이스
And this has been founded by Lama Yishi 40 years ago. And this has been taken care by Lama Suva Rinpoche for many years. And all the concerned people here have really worked hard. And so I really rejoice and thank each one.
대체 안다 로방고치라 예외차라 다 로크셴을라 서버름치 배 공부소네 오늘 전에게 템버치를 컨지텔 쇼제게 방부 쇼제 총송스
One thing that has been very sad is a few years ago, Lama Suva Rinpoche is no longer with us. So that has actually hindered in the flourishment of Buddha Dharma, something that is sad.
제상 띵고마 르무치 공부 조가라마데 다워 직승을 훈수 규메 차상을 르무치 패 한건조 냠도 패진 딘자 니 숨심이게 냠도이 한 디가라 르무치 냠도 가면 총 망고 총송 안 디인데 르무치네 오늘 전에게 지 마음바 이내야 다시 땜발이야 차와 갸침부제야 다 배위 초다 가서 칼라야 땜배 차와 갸침부제 르무치 쇼제기 때 두기 상버선에 토르 쉬우시도 다 이내야 딘좀 뭐 총부제 빼 방고 총송
So just before 1 month before he left, passed away, he was in Hunsur in Gyume Tantric school. And at that time, when Rinpoche was there and His Eminence was also there. So 1 to 2 weeks, they all were together. So they had repeated conversation that he also wanted to do so much of Buddha's Dharma flourishment in Nepal and other places. So there's so much of aspiration within him. So it's very sad that he's no longer with us.
르무시에게 ngala ineyan다 직 템발라 섭지 쇼고레 세르무시 시라게 베 송구 송송 서바 딘데 nga인 단다 이네야 샘나 샤데요 디디 르무시에게 송구도 마음바 직 르무시에게 쳐서다 데발라 키랑게 데바 다르무시 쳐서 먹고 여러와 데발라 키랑 직 데발 레베 거이네야 데바지 야마 용로치아스 디디 르무시가 디 송송 서르무시 딘데 다 간다 개치슈 디 르무시에게 디다 말아야 템발이야 쉽지 쇼그레스 딘데 시라 송송디 셈나 샤데유스
So at that time, Super Rinpoche has made a fervent request to His Eminence that please do as much as possible in flourishment of the Buddha Dharma and serve the Buddha Dharma. And he made a fervent request to His Eminence repeatedly many times. And also he indicated about the FPMD centers. So whenever His Eminence gets the opportunity, please visit the FPMD centers and then try to give teachings. So all these, when I met him at Gume Tantric, he stated all this. So I have kept all these in my mind.
캐치셔디 다데 페딩 망체 rumbuchege 중년원에 전에 다베 직사바다 개체외 최슈 아 본에 전에 소소이네야 직삼로데 최로 초 디레기 비실하게 거리 첨부래 그러봐 인데 소 rumbuchege 도건소야다 다음에 신 rumbuchege 굴레 겸버든소 오늘 된주체도다 좋았음전에 편바지인데 아니 된소 rumbuchege 제바든소 못해야 돼 그냥 쇼견으로 치스
And of course, today gathered here, you all must be, most of you must be the direct disciples of Lama Zopa Rinpoche, and you all have flourished into Dhammas because of Lama Zopa Rinpoche. So your mind is directed towards Buddha's Dharma flourishment. So I urge every one of you to fulfill the wishes of your teacher Lama Zopa Rinpoche and carry on those practices, and then fulfill in the flourishing of the Buddha Dharma, in benefiting as much as one can to the benefit of sentient beings.
Oh yeah, touche. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. Oh yeah. Jambe bawe cheda kyamba da gundo sangbo teyan teshin te teda gunge jeso dalo gewan teda tamje rabdo ngo tusum shebe gewa tamje gi ngowa kanla chodo ngaba dashen gewe zawa de gunge sangbo jeje rabdo ngowa rangi kangre rawe kwewe shingamso pendan dewa malu chungwe Jenre sewa tenzin gyaso ye shabe sede pado tengyo che. Yeah, 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 okay.
Would like to do the thank you mandala offering to Rinpoche. And do the dedication, yeah. Yeah, yeah, please, you lead. Sure, sure.
Chi chakri ko yuki owe usu Rike bori rab chahan papo do sambole no balanche dominion Budang the pak ngai man nayap chen yoden don lam chop chop dominion la dominion dita Rinpoche mi wo pasang shing Joyo ba mamo pai loto polo rinpoche nombo rinpoche sumo rinpoche lompo rinpoche lompo rinpoche tato rinpoche mapo rinpoche derchan boy mumpa geoma chewama ma dahama Netoma, Dipoma, Nasama, Trichama, Yima, Dawa, Rinpoche, To, Chope, Nampakya, Wekya, Sen, Usu, Ladang, Mi, Chope, Sum, Sopa, Masang, Wang, Mepa, Sashi, Yidu, Wawa, Dida, Chenchen, Sawa, Dangyapa, Chepe, Pelde, Lama, Dampa, Namda, Kepa, Tuyang, Yung Suk, Tempe, Nadak, Jungi, Letu, Tseni, Mute, Jetsu, Nama, Lotang, Tubwa, Doje, Chang, Chempo, Kyapche, Kundeling, Tatsak, Chukchu, Rinpoche, Pel, Sampo, Shengane, Tekpa, Chempo, Sungchu, Zamu, Lekpa, Tope, Katrin, Tang, Yiran, Peshin, Wagyo tukshe jowe dundu she su so shene kyang dak so jowa magyo namke tadam yampe semshen tamshe tukse wa shimbu gone chinge lab tu so Tashi So in English, may the precious supreme bodhicitta not yet born arise. May that arisen not decline, but increase more and more. In a land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Chenrezig, Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. I fully dedicate all these virtues to be able to train just like the hero Manjushri, who knows reality, and just like Samantabhadra as well. Praise is the best by all one done the 3 times in order to have perfect conduct. So then, fearless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and Prachaka Buddhas, victorious Losang, father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite land, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. Holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice, you wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable, venerable gurus, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and for mother living beings you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth, the blessings of the ocean of the 3 jewels, and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory proportionate. Did you want to say something?
Yeah.
Can people offer kathas, or what exactly is the story? So if people, do we need to say anything? can offer